This is the Big Chat Small Talk podcast for dynamic, engaged minds who love thought-provoking discussions about big life challenges in an approachable way. Join me, Bernie Bennett,
and me, Louise Anderson, to challenge your own perspective, to share insights and wisdom on navigating life's demands. Let us have a big chat about important issues in a small talk way. Social media and the effects on our children. On a TV show, the US Surgeon General commented that 95% of teens ages 13 to 17 are using social media. Additionally, in recent months, Common Sense Media also found that 80% of 16-year-olds have their own smartphone. Although there are a lot of positives associated with connecting with friends online, there are also some very real dangers. With smartphones and social media here to stay, do parents need to be more vigilant? What do you think, V?
Well, you see, now I remember us growing up, we were really outdoorsy, right? So we would be out there on grifter bikes. There was another bike that I was trying to think of, but that was in a direct competition, but I can't think about it. So the grifter bikes, we were out in the parks. We played hopscotch for the kids listening in the back of the car. Hopscotch is a game in which you mark out the pavement with 10 boxes and you kind of jump trying to miss stones. But again, you played that with a friend. And conkers. Do you remember conkers?
Yes, I remember conkers, yeah.
I used to remember soaking my conker in like vinegar, or you could bake it, and it was how many different other conkers you could take out going to school the next day. These
and
are really
collected them as well.
And you collected them.
Yeah.
Right. This was really interactive and it was outdoors. But now and parents were more vigilant about the stranger outside the home, right? So when you're asking that question, I'm going, well, that was then, and that's what we were guarding against then. But do we do the same kind of guarding at home with these iPhones coming into the home? I look at the idea that my daughter or my son has a mobile by the side of their beds at night and I'm asleep. I visualize the kind of vigilance that we should have as parents, the same as leaving your front door open, allowing a stranger to walk up those stairs into your daughter's bedroom and shutting the door.
Ooh,
right.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But that's exactly what you're allowing when you allow them to have their phones unfettered, unchallenged access to the world. So yes, we do need to be vigilant.
Yes, we do. And I think when you say it like that, it's scary.
It really is.
And I think when we were growing up, stranger danger was the person outside. You know, you heard of kidnappings and don't talk to strangers, don't get in anyone's cars, etc. But yes, now stranger danger is different. It's virtual. It's everywhere.
Virtual.
Yeah.
It's the world.
It's the world.
You're now, it's the idea that it was just one individual. Actually, it's thousands online now.
Absolutely. And it's scary. And it's very scary. And let's think about it. Like you just mentioned, your children having their phone next to them in their bedroom. And there are issues with children having mobile phones and smartphones and with social media.
Yeah.
Some of that is that kind of, it's affecting their sleep. There's this
sedimentary behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
Not getting any exercises, which causes obesity. So that, that's on the rise as well for children.
And do you think, just touching on that point, because like you were saying earlier, you described our childhood, which it actually sounded very
so much
idyllic.
more fun, right?
But, if you're thinking of a child living in an urban area these days, there are so many restrictions with playing outside. No ball games. You certainly couldn't put a hopscotch. No, in some areas,
chalk.
It's chalk.
Bit of rain and it's gone.
Be surprised the biddy of neighborhood watch who's like, those children outside with their children. You know what I mean? So I think there's also a distinction between trying to raise children in an urban or suburb of a city. Yeah. Because I think children who live in the countryside probably have, or outside of a larger city, probably have a bit more outdoors experience or
now or then? Are you saying now?
I'm saying now, probably now.
I think they're still locked up in the houses. I mean, when you leave the house, you tend to take your child to a games place indoors, a video game store, or the cinema or bowling. It's all kind of more indoors. But in fairness, can you get them out of the house? Let's be realistic.
Well, this is it, especially
can
with
you get them out of their bedrooms?
especially with screen addiction.
Yeah.
And again, just picking up on screen addiction, because I struggle with my children sometimes, because we say we don't want them to be on their tablets or their phones or watching TV and everything too much. But now everything seems to be on the screen. So they're going to school and they're doing a lot of their schoolwork on the screen.
Yeah.
Homework is done on the screen. So I find myself engaged with my eldest, especially about it. Like, I want to restrict your time on the screen. And in her argument, and my eldest already,
yes.
she's a lawyer, or she's going to be a lawyer in the making.
I love it.
Well, I have to do my homework. And if I don't, that spill.
Yeah.
And so it got me thinking, with all of this, social media, smartphones, they're here to stay.
Yeah.
So, as a parent, how do we manage with it? How do we kind of create a healthy existence with it? Because it's not going anywhere.
Well, if I go back to when you're saying screen addiction, because I remember reading online, it starts with techniques like pull down and refresh, which is the start of a downward spiral because it acts a little bit like a slot machine. And it has the kind of addictive qualities that you kind of find in Las Vegas. And if we look at that and how hooked they become on that, how exactly are our kids meant to guard against these types of dangers? This addiction is something that needs feeding, and this is why we find our kids on their phones for 6, 7,
Binging,
8 hours.
yeah.
I remember watching something. There was something on Netflix actually, and I should have taken the note of the name, but it was looking at the people that actually design all these apps. They don't have their kids on them. And I thought that was really interesting.
I remember that. Yes, I remember that program. Oh, we've got to find that name. But yeah, I remember that.
They don't even. And I just went, that should tell you everything you need to know. They know how they're actually designing it to keep your kids trapped in this ever revolving loop where they keep coming back to it and they just never leave it. Once you've flicked away, they show you something which is very similar to the last, which keeps you in that flicking mode. I think it's so dangerous.
It is, but it happens with us. I know. I do it
you
myself.
Get trapped as
I
well.
Get trapped. As soon as a reel comes up on TikTok, you're just going through, scrolling up,
and you lose time.
And you lose time.
You've been there an hour,
and we're adults trying to manage ourselves. So with children, it's even harder. So there's definitely a need for the parent interaction. But another concern I have as a parent with social media as well, or this on everything being online, is cyberbullying and self-image.
Yes.
Issues. And I've noticed it now with my children. They're all different certain ages, but my eldest now is beginning to ask me, Mum, what do I look like? Do I look beautiful?
That's part of that is part of all the filtering that they do and stuff. And so do they ever see themselves as they truly are? Because everything they're looking at online has been filtered out to the hills.
Yeah.
Everybody looks beautiful online, but that's not realistic really, is it?
It isn't realistic, and it's also very impressionable on young minds because they're then trying to think.
I need to look like that.
I need to look like that to be beautiful. And also this reel culture as well. Everybody fitting their perfect life in a 30-second reel, which is not real. The reels are not real, everybody. They're really
the reels aren't real.
They're not real. It's not real life. But those are the concerns. And another concern I have is the grooming. And that we know is very widespread. So like you were saying earlier, in our childhood, it was the stranger outside.
The one individual that you were guarding against.
Now, with online social media, thousands. And we know the issues with that as well. And another concern that I have to have, and parents will have, and again, how do we navigate it? I've already had to sit down and have that conversation with my 2 eldest about grooming, and I can't give them every kind of eventuality of what that's going to look like, but I have said to them, and the rules are, if you're going to be on certain gaming platforms, you play only with friends or members of the family that are on there. You have to know them. The moment somebody who tries to engage with you that you don't know, I want you to tell me.
I think we do the same. I mean, I say we do the same. My older boy, he has a few of those types of accounts, but my daughter has 0. And it's just a no. It's my friends are on Snapchat. What's wrong with iMessage? That works perfectly well. And I know everyone in your contacts, but Snapchat allows them to communicate outside of their contact group. And I'm like, you know what I'm like. I don't even do WhatsApp because
Bernie doesn't do
I
WhatsApp.
don't do WhatsApp. Don't look for me. You won't find me. But I just find that you are going outside of your contact group. And for my now 15-year-old, actually, she's not. She keeps confusing me. She confuses me because she's constantly, because she wants the new apps, she's constantly going, I'm nearly 16. And I'm like, no, you're actually 14. Yeah. You've got a couple of more months before you're 15. But yeah, the idea that she would go on Snapchat and be communicating with people that she actually doesn't know, I'm like, that's a big no for me, for you to be on that platform. So she doesn't have no Insta, no TikTok, no, go and name them. She hasn't got them. And I'm going to hold strong as long as I can.
Good luck, because I've lost
I
the
know
battle.
it's not easy. But I say to her, it's building character. All your friends have got it, but you haven't. It's building character.
That's actually a really good way to do it, because I have allowed my eldest to have Snapchat, and she has got TikTok, and recently she opened an Instagram account. And the view I took was, I'd rather do it like early enough for her to understand. She knows the whole concept behind it, and it's managed, and it's bit by bit to work, I suppose, in preventing the binge.
Right.
Because it's like that thing, when you talk about binge culture, alcohol binge culture that the UK seems to suffer from. And then you look at the continent and they don't really have it, because they've introduced alcohol a little bit earlier, and the education of how to have a better relationship with alcohol. So I kind of took that
like
stance.
Ireland. There's a lot of drinking over there.
So I kind of looked at it like that. I thought, little bit, incrementally, get her used to it, get her building a better relationship with social media. Don't get it perfect all the time.
Yeah.
She does have a little bit of a binge here, there and everywhere, but it's kind of like building, I think for me, that was building her, helping her to building a better relationship with social media. And we've now come to a really good agreement in the house as to how social media is going to be used. And what it does as well for me, because I'm one of those sneaky spy parents. By her being on that, it allows me to see what kind of content she is looking at. She is looking at, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
See, so one of the things that I know that we are all conscious of is how much trash we put in our mouths. And we're quite mindful of that. But I think with social media, we become less mindful of the trash that we are absorbing and how our brains are functioning and how it is causing depression in a lot of our youths. I think if people were to curate what goes on in their minds as they do it into their mouths, we might actually find that the kids' mental health would be much improved. What do you think?
No, I agree. And so that's why I think we need to move to a kind of digital kind of wellness. We need to be able to have a better relationship with it. Because like with any kind of diet, it's another thing that we're absorbing and taking in. And I think was it Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, that coined that phrase? He said, a good digital diet. So it's just ensuring that for all of us, not just the children, we're careful about what we're looking at. We're careful about what we're watching and absorbing.
Yeah.
And we set boundaries. Like just for myself, I avoid anything that's scary or horrific, or because I find it gives me nightmares.
Yeah.
I rather watch things that are happy and joyful and comedic. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
So it's just trying to, I suppose, engineer or trying to be careful and monitor those kind of things, and then setting a time for it. So sometimes I find myself not wanting to look at my phone, not wanting to see what's on Instagram or TikTok, and having a few days of it. And it's wonderful. It's bliss.
So I know in China that they are a lot more strict on what sort of content they allow on their TikTok and I think Insta as well. Do you think that we could maybe go down that road? Do you like the idea of government stepping in and going, actually, the only things that children of that age can do is watch educational things? Because they don't allow all the crap that we get on our TikToks for their kids. And I think that is the right way to go. But it's interesting how in Europe and the rest of Western society, TikTok is just full of a lot of junk and is causing a lot of mental health again.
That's interesting, because I think a distinction needs to be made between censorship and trying to control and put in place safeguarding measures for children. And
So you're for or against censorship?
I'm against censorship,
Yeah.
but I'm for legislating or putting regulation in place for safeguarding.
How do you think we should go about that? Have I given you a tricky question? Don't answer if you don't.
It's not that it's tricky, because like we do it already with films and music, advisory lyrics and not suitable for children under 12.
Yeah, but all we do is we put a stamp on it. Ultimately, it's down to the parent to make sure that the child isn't watching inappropriate material at home. So we don't really do it, do we?
No, we don't. We're not as strict, no. It's a difficult one. I think it is a difficult question. It's going to probably require a greater mind than mine. But I think what should happen is that parents need to be able to get better educated on how to manage these platforms. Because if you've got a child on TikTok or on Snapchat and you're a parent, like, ask me how to do Snapchat. I'm terrible. Okay. I can't even create my own avatar. I'm so bad. And the children are just so fluid with all of this.
Yeah,
so
from very, very young ages.
At a very, very young age. I mean, I'm watching my almost 5-year-old, and he can navigate his way through my tablet and my phone better than I can. Okay. So it's just, there's something that goes off in their brain quite early.
It's very intuitive.
Very intuitive, exactly. But I think, like with all of these things, the only way we're going to better protect our own children is if we get better informed about what we can do, how we can do things, and also do things in a way, like I was saying earlier, I haven't restricted my eldest from having access to these apps, because I want to be able to allow her to develop a healthy relationship, just doing it bit by bit incrementally. Yeah. But going towards regulating against all of that, I don't know. It's a hard one.
Yeah, I'm in between. I'm not for censorship. I'm not for anything that interferes with personal liberty and choice. That said, I'm quite a strict parent. So I think I'm the one that's censoring at home, and it's quite effective. But not all parents are, and therefore, when we're talking about the rise of mental health in young kids, do we need the idea that government needs to step in does seem to become a little bit more appealing, because not everybody can actually manage this and have a good balance at home with their kids without having an argument over how much time they can and can't have on their phones.
Had those arguments, haven't we?
Jeez.
Jeez, I know.
Yeah.
But I think the US and the UK governments are pushing the big techs to do some more. I don't know exactly all the ins and the outs, but I know the big techs are having to take more responsibility in terms of content, and content that is accessible to our young people and our children.
Because it is becoming a little bit more aggressive with when they're flicking through, what they're doing is showing them more content, which is the addictive part, which keeps them going and keeps them hooked. And the algorithm arguably takes on a more dangerous and captivating characteristic when it introduces the likes and follows. Because what you got is kids going back on and checking, did someone like it? Checking how their post is doing. And when it's not liked, when it's not followed, this is the downward spiral, the roller coaster of emotions, chipping away at their mental health. And this is polarized with every unfollow, every disparaging comment that is made online, and lack of perceived engagement in their posts. So
their self-worth is
being absolutely damaged, which is why my daughter isn't on. So we're going to agree to disagree on how to manage it. And there is no judgment at all. Everybody's got to do it the way that they see fit. But
so how do we achieve digital wellness and a healthier relationship with technology? Like, what can we suggest to parents to do, like tools that they can put in place to kind of seek or get a better balance with it? What kind of things would you suggest?
But I quite like what I know that we've talked about this, and you've said about creating smartphone-free zones and times in the day in which it's just a family time and a movie time, and it means that all devices are put down. There is also planning activities, getting them outside.
Yeah.
seriously getting them outside.
And parents have got to do that. Parents have got to actively do it. Yeah.
And then there is the mirroring. You saying the parents actually, it's the mirroring. If they're always seeing you on your phone,
good point.
You know, they're going to mirror that sort of behavior as well. So we've got to actually be active, proactive in putting down our phones as well and having that conversation with them over the dinner phone, over the dinner phone. That's an interesting. Over the dinner table with the phones down and not trying to have a conversation over your phone over the dinner table.
Exactly. A no phone zone.
Yeah, I think that is, apart from just saying no, which is my favourite, I think those are really good options.
And I'll even just add more things to that. Schedule the no phone, no social media time. Put it in, like, you know, you have like your family planner on the fridge or something.
Yeah.
Put it in there so then everybody knows when it comes to a certain point in the day, all the week, all the month, that's a no phone, no technology, no social media. It's family time. Put activities in place so they've got something to look forward to as well.
Yeah.
Because you can do it. And like you said, parents, you've got to mirror it.
You really do.
Yes, you do. So, parents, do you need to be more vigilant? Of course.
Of course you do. Thanks for listening to the Big Chat Small Talk with Bernie and Louise.
Follow us on Instagram at Big Chat Small Talk.